Hey, welcome back to the Digital Cash Solution here on KFNX in Phoenix. Go ahead and give us a call if you have any questions about cryptocurrencies, blockchains, any of these things, how to get involved. The number is 602-277-KFNX. Just call and give us some questions. Also, come on out tonight to Classic Crust Pizza. And what's the location again there, Doug? Because we want to set them up with a wallet. Download the Edge wallet and come on out to Classic Crust Pizza, and we'll get you some free Dash and learn how it works.
Yeah, that's at Cave Creek and Cactus Road in North Phoenix.
Awesome. All right. And, let's talk about tech a little bit, like the buggy whip, the combustion engine, those things. Like, they put the buggy whip driver out of business by building cars. And this is what, this type of tech is trying to put the banks out of business. I mean, if you've heard our ad that's going, do you love your banker? Do you love the Federal Reserve? Like,
they're my besties.
Screw those guys. Yeah, they're our besties. Give us some examples there, Joel, of the combustion engine as it relates to cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, so we're always moving forward with technology. And I mean, I'm one of those old school people who can't let go of the manual transmission. I still drive stick. I'm proud of it. And I don't want to make the transition to manual. And now we got these electric cars like Teslas and stuff, which seem to obsolete the manual transmission. And at some point, there's not going to be any, other than just as a hobby, there's not going to be any good old stick shift left for me. But that's fine. Because
there is a good thing about stick shift. I think the insurance is cheaper because no one under 30 can drive it, and that's usually who steals cars.
Yeah, exactly. It's an anti-theft device, and in fact, I have to get a European friend to drive me to the airport.
Right. I don't have a club. I don't need the club. I have a standard.
Yeah, exactly. It's so one thing that people really don't understand about cryptocurrency. They think it's this new weird thing, kind of, but the term that a lot of people use is fintech or financial technology. And we've had financial technology evolve so much over the years, the decades, the centuries. I mean, we go from barter, just trading, I give you 3 chickens, you give me, a cow, and then I owe you a whole bunch of extra chickens or whatever. You go that to having precious metals that you can trade, and then you have coins you can trade, and then you have paper certificates that are like gold and silver certificates is what paper money used to be, and now it's, not quite backed by that anymore. But then you start to have stuff like checks where you can just write, I'm giving them this much money, and you put a piece of paper, and then you send it, and then the bank does it. And then you get to points where you can use your smartphone and take a picture of the check, and then that just deposits it. And you have a little app where you can check your bank balance and stuff like that. And then you have these Venmo and PayPal kind of things where you can just sort of send and receive money. It's not really a bank, but it kind of is. And there's stuff like that. And then this is just the next step of that.
And if you're a gold and silver bug, there are actually cryptocurrencies out there that are pegged to gold and silver. So the gold and silver would be held in a vault either in Switzerland. One company that's actually integrating with Dash is called Vaulturo, and they hold their money or their gold and silver in a vault in Switzerland. And this digital currency that you get from them, each unit would be tied to a certain unit of gold or silver. Well, there's another company that's in the U.S. called Herc or Anthem Gold. And you can do the same thing with that, and your gold would be stored at various different gold depositories around the U.S. But that would be a way that you could actually send gold value via email.
Yeah, exactly. And what we're going to is just like with the internet, and now you have apps and stuff that, for example, you could have something like Google Maps that basically gives you a direction to wherever you're going. And then there's something called Waze, which some of you driving right now might even use, which has a certain peer-to-peer element to it, meaning there's alerts on the road that Waze itself didn't put theirs and the company didn't put there. Other users did. And then sometimes the maps are done by users themselves. It's just a very collaborative kind of way to do things. And cryptocurrencies are that kind of peer-to-peer app style way of running complex financial institutions that aren't actually an institution. So it's just sort of the next, what apps and Uber and things like that have done for other industries. You could say that cryptocurrency is the Bitcoin is the Uber of money. I'm sure I've heard that a whole lot of times. And
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Go ahead, Doug.
You know, most people wouldn't be able to really intelligently describe to you how our fiat money works.
Absolutely.
And so, while it's certainly good due diligence to do your research on a new technology and, find out everything you can. However, we put our trust in the US dollar simply because it's history. We're born into it. We don't know anything. Most of us, don't know any other currencies. And we know that everywhere we go, it's going to be accepted. It's this confidence factor. What's
it backed by?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who just wants to get into the weeds of things, wants to know like coin minting, all this kind of stuff, there's plenty of resources for that for the current financial system as well as cryptocurrencies for the future. But if you just say, look, I don't understand this stuff, I just know it's the future, and I don't need to understand it. I just want to start using it.
Yes.
And then eventually I'm just going to forget that I don't understand it. You just download a wallet, and you either go to an ATM or use some service like Uphold is a good one to just buy some more, and then you just learn how to go around and spend it, and then you just start using it. It's like, oh yeah, it's that thing everyone uses. And they're like, well, what's it backed by? And then eventually these kids, right, the young people, the younger generations are going to be using this, and then they'll be looking at us weird when you say, well, what's it backed by? How does it work? Who do I call it? Like, they're like, God, Dad, you're so lame. It doesn't work that way. It just works. Like, who knows? These questions
a great example. So a great example of this is maybe it's not taking off just yet in certain areas, but in other areas it has. Like, give us the example of Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Yeah, so I live in a small town in New Hampshire, about 20,000 or so people, called Portsmouth. And it has about 27 cryptocurrency accepting businesses in town. More coming every day. I think we're at 28 actually, and that's more than one per 1,000 people. And so there's a regular contingent of business people. In fact, I went to a French crepe shop to get coffee and a crepe for lunch, and I was going to pay with Dash, and so. And they say, okay, I want to pay with Dash. Okay. And then they just put up the QR code, I scan, send. It works just great. And then the person behind me is like, oh, can I use Apple Pay? And like, oh, I don't know how. I got to ask the manager. I don't know how to do that. And it's like, this used to be
completely the opposite.
Yes, but also this used to be credit cards and stuff. They're like, yeah, can I, someone goes, hey, I'm going to pay with check. I'm going to pay with cash. Someone's like, can I do a card? They're like, oh, I don't know how to work the card terminal. And growing up, I used to actually work at a Taekwondo school in Phoenix, and sometimes I'd run the credit card machine there, and that always terrified me because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to spool the receipt paper. I didn't know how to press the right buttons, and how's it going to go through. What happens if there's an error? What do I do? Just intimidating, but that's kind of old and standard tech now. And pretty soon, just like this is going to be the exact same kind of thing. And it in some areas of the world, just like Portsmouth, New Hampshire, it's really starting to become much more standard. And not to say anything about Venezuela, where cryptocurrencies were really taken off because current financial systems are not really serving the people all that well at this moment.
Not to mention the government did a free advertising campaign.
2 minutes, sorry.
Unbeknownst to them.
Yes, exactly. The government introduced the Petro, which is a state-backed cryptocurrency, or also known as a little bit of a oxymoron / what's the point. However, running Petro advertisements all over the place has really brought a lot of people like, oh, this is something that the government's behind. This is something that's kind of safe to use. It's not that weird. And then they hear about some other cryptocurrency and they're like, oh yeah, I kind of know what that is. Let me try to use it. Let's see how it works. And largely it works. There's over 160 cryptocurrency accepting businesses in Caracas alone, and growing by sometimes even hundreds a week. It's been pretty breakneck these days.
Yeah, and the importance for them is explain the money. The bolivar it devalues itself like on the hour.
Yes, exactly. And I mean that's of course a big pain in the butt to try to price your goods and services because your metric is always changing. But it's even worse to just
1 minute.
What happens? You work really hard all week, all month, all year, and then all of a sudden that stuff isn't worth what you put in. All of a sudden you say, oh, I got to work 40 hours a week to feed my family. And all of a sudden you can't feed your family at the end of the week. Oh, you got to work an extra 40 hours. It's like now I'm working 80-hour weeks. I didn't think I had to.
Yeah.
And you're just not your
30
money's
seconds.
not worth anything. And that's really,
we're coming to a close here, guys, and I just want to throw before we go out. In addition to come on down to Classic Crust Pizza, we're also looking for Bitcoin ATM hosts. So visit our site at phoenixcrypto.com/host if you own a business and you'd like to host one of our Bitcoin ATMs.